it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts, independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in the UK. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. As ever, all the products that I'm using are listed below, as is the link to my website. I'm just getting that out there now, early on, so that we all know where everything is. And what was I was going to say something else. Hey ho. Oh well, this is what comes of turning things round. It sometimes doesn't work terribly well. Anyway, welcome back. This is today's project. It's a little box. Well, a not so little box. It's 4 by 2. So it's a 4-inch square and it's 2 inches deep. And it's using the lovely, I didn't think I was going to like it, but I do, Perennial Essence Designer Series paper. I made a project with this last week, which was my Father's Day week, using some of the Designer Series paper, and I've had people absolutely dumbstruck that it was Designer Series paper and that it was from this suite. So these are some of the papers that I've got left. Not a huge amount left because I've been using it so much. I think there's one of each of the designs. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, hurrah, hurrah. So these are the designs. Now, this is why I think they are suitable for men and women, because this is just a neutral, really. That side, maybe not. This is maybe not. That maybe not. This, there are bits of it that you could, that no. This, there are bits that you could use, no. Definitely, this is one of the ones I used for one of the examples last week, and I accept that probably not. These are actually the offcuts from the papers that I used last week. I had 6 by 6 squares, so those are the 2 back sides and those are the 2 A sides, if you like. So, yeah, if you are toying with whether or not you can justify getting it because you won't be able to use it for masculine cards, toy no longer. You can just hop over to my online store and get it now. It's gorgeous. So this uses some some carryover product and some new product. So let's get started. We are going to start with doing some stamping because it needs to dry. I may need to help it along when we get to it as well, but in the meantime. Now, the stamp set that goes with this suite is the Floral Essence stamp set, and I'm using this flower here and this greeting, wishing you a blissful future. Now, this stamp will work with the leaf punch. She says, trying to find the leaf punch. It's not made, oh there it is, it's not made to go with the leaf punch, that way up, but it doesn't hit the quality standard for Stampin' Up in that there is too much white card around it, or whatever colour you're using, but there's too big a line behind it. But for those of us that are just, you know, winging it, it's fine, so that will work. But more importantly, there is a punch for this stamp here. And let me move that out of the way before I bury it under my catalogue, which would not be a pretty look. If you look at the front of your catalogue, which is page 4 onwards, you will see that we've got all the bundles. Remember the Daisy Lane bundle, the Daisy Lane stamp set or bundle is my current giveaway. So if you buy the Daisy Lane stamp set either individually or as part of the bundle, you will get some gold faceted gems. So let's find a Perennial, not Perennial Essence, Floral Essence. You will see this is a bundle. So if you get the stamps and the punch together, you save 10% and it's just £29.50. So yes, you don't need to stamp it 3 times to get the effect. You only need 2, but I've gone for 3, so I've just offset a bit more. So on that subject, let me grab my stamp which I've got on a C block. And this is some of the Perennial Essence, what's the word I'm looking for? Vellum. Good grief, woman. Vellum. It comes in the Petal Pink, So Saffron and Old Olive. I thought I had some Old Olive on my desk, but I don't. But yes, so it comes in 3 colours, and it's gorgeous. There are 2 sides, and I don't think you'll be able to see that there are 2 sides, but there's one side that is normal vellum smoothness, and there's one side that's almost slightly sueded. So there is that kind of difference. I'm going to use the slightly sueded side because I think the classic ink dries slightly quicker on this side. It's a slow process, but it will eventually dry. I might need to blitz it with my heat tool. I've over-inked my stamp. So I'm using So Saffron ink. I'm putting the 2 petals to the bottom because that's the way up of the stamp, punch. So it'll be easier to punch out. So I'm going to do 3 so that I can have more opulence. So that is that, and that is going to be set to one side to dry. And as I say, I might need to blitz it, but who knows. So let's start on the box now that we've got that done. 6x6, this is Mossy Meadow. 8x8 with a tiny weeny bit trimmed. It's 1/16 short on 2 adjoining sides than 8 inches, and that's so that you get a nice neat fit. You can do it with putting shims into your scoreboard, but frankly, just cut the base slightly smaller and it's fine. So let's change over my Take Your Pick and pop the embossing tool on. I love this. So the base I'm going to score at 2 inches on each of the 4 sides. Now, it's particularly important that you turn your card if you're trimming, because this isn't 8 inches square, it's slightly under. It's 7 15/16 if we're going to be precise. But when you're making a square anything, I would always pivot your card, because you can't guarantee, however careful you are, that you have actually cut it exactly right. So always, if it's square or the same depth all the way around, anything that is lidded, always twist your card. Don't just go 1 and 5, do 1, 1, 1, 1. So 1, and suddenly silence. What can I say? So I'm filming this at the weekend. I have been planning to do my garden all week, and the weather has not been particularly wonderful. It's been kind of okay-ish. So I'm just going to burnish all my score lines. For those of you who are new, you burnish towards the lump. So you've scored on this side, turn over and burnish. So you continue to make that lumpier, if you like. So yes, I've been trying to get out into my garden all week, and I did a little bit at the weekend after my run. That's as in not this weekend we just had, but the weekend before. So I had the so-called fun run, which was really hot and sweaty in the morning, the worst weather for running, and then it was cool and slightly damp in the afternoon, the best weather for running. So yes, not great. Right, now I'm one of these people that goes in a Catherine wheel. Rather than putting everything in, I like to do things in a Catherine wheel. So I'm going to wedge, and basically you make the top and the bottom the same. Obviously the bottom is just bigger. So straight into the rectangle and wedge into the square. So basically you're cutting away the score line, So again, straight into the rectangle and wedge into the square. And of course last week we had the, oh, I've done that wrong. Never mind, normally I would go round. It's because I'm trying to concentrate on filling silence as well. This time we're not going to go round, we're going to do it that way. It's fine, it's fine, I'm adaptable. So yes, we had the catalogue launch. I haven't recovered, that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it, so I haven't trimmed quite enough off there. So straight into the rectangle and then wedge out the square. So yes, catalogue launch. Whoa, that was fun. So as demonstrators, we obviously get to order 2. We can suddenly order anything we want from the catalogue rather than the limited list that we get for pre-order on an annual. I'm only turning this over because it's easier to do it this side than at the edge. So, sorry about that. The battery ran out. It's filming, that's the problem. So yes, we had those of us that are demonstrators, we can get to order everything. I'm going to do both top and bottom. Actually, no, I am going to do top and bottom. And I will, because I've done the bottom this way, I'll do the top this way as well, except I'll do it the right way up. So it didn't affect the customer side of the ordering system, but the catalogue actually was available to order ahead of time. We didn't realise it was going to go live before 8 o'clock in the morning, but it did in Europe. So that was fine. I managed to get my order in at, gosh, I think I finished posting my order at about 6:30, which I have to say for me was just as well, because at about 5 minutes past 8, which is 5 minutes after the whole system was supposed to go live, on the demonstrator side it crashed across the whole of Europe. You could still go in as a customer and order, which some of my demonstrator colleagues did, but as a demonstrator you couldn't. So that was fun. As I say, happily it didn't affect the customer side, so it wasn't quite as difficult as it might have been. I've just realised what I want to do next. So I'm going to put my designer series paper on at this stage because it's easier to stick to something that's flat than to something that's 3D. Now I've cut my paper 1/16 of an inch smaller than the dimension, so you can see it's a very narrow margin. That's the word I'm looking for. So it's 1/16 smaller in each direction. So this is 1/16 off 4 inches, so it's 3 15/16 square. 3 15/16 by 15/16, 4 times. But don't worry, the dimensions are, as I say, on my blog. So it's all fine. Right, so snail. Paper to card is fine with snail. I would not use snail for card to card. It's not strong enough. It's a permanent adhesive, but it's not a strong permanent adhesive. It is not fast fuse. I wish it was. I do miss my fast fuse. Anyway, so yes, so I did manage to get my orders in, and I say orders because I had a large enough order that I could get a 50% off item. In fact, I had a large enough order that if I placed 2 orders, I could get 2 50% off items. So I did, because it was more cost effective to do that than to do and to pay £4.95 postage twice, than to miss out on the half price items. So yes, so lots coming, quite a lot of product share. I am still doing a product share later this month, so if you missed out on my first product share, don't stress. You can go over to my product share and craft box page of my website, and you can pre-order the one that I am doing at the end of June. So all the details are there, and you can either do a paper share, a ribbon share, or a combined paper and ribbon share. And basically it's a quarter of a pack or reel of each. That doesn't look the right length. I'm going to need to trim that potentially. No, it'll do. It'll do. Let me just check that one. Yeah, this one I will trim. I think I hit 4 inches rather than 3 15/16. Let's just trim a tiny bit off the end. Tiny bit more off the end. So yes, you want the product share and craft box tab of my website for that. And there's a request form, so just fill that in and I'll then get an invoice to you so that you can get payment to me. And that's for the end of June. So there we go. So that does mean therefore that I need to get my snips in under there and trim a little bit off, because it's going to annoy me. You know me, I will get annoyed. Of course I've pressed it down well. I'm going to have to lift it up. See, you get it live. You may get lots of chatter, but you get it live. There we go. That's better. I'm happy now. Right, okay, so let's stick this together. Now I'm going to be rash and I'm going to use liquid adhesive because it's a better adhesive than snail for card to card, and it's quicker than tear and tape. I'm not very good at ripping tear and tape. I mean, I am, but not quickly. So for the sake of not going over too long on this video, I'm going to use liquid adhesive. So you will see that I'm putting my adhesive on first. So I'm putting on everything first. You just need to be conscious that you've got wet bits. And I'm actually going to be really rash and put it on my base as well. So that can be getting slightly tacky before we need to stick it together, because it doesn't take that long to stick together. So while I've got this open, I will add all my glue. So yeah, right. So yes, I've had my first parcel arrive. There is a lot of paper in there. There's also paper for a class that I am running at a team event. So I've got a lot of bird ballad paper coming for that, because we're doing a mini album at a team event later this month. So yes, lots of packs to put together. So yes, as I say, because I've left this, it's actually going together really quickly, because it's got to that slightly tacky stage. And I'm just looking for the bone folder I had just now, because what I want to do is just go in and make sure those are well pressed down. So that's the lid, and then let's pop the base together. And as I say, you just need to be aware that you are handling something that has got wet on it. Let's get those two ends in. And there will be just enough room in the middle for them to sort of abut but not overlap too much. It's part of the reason I like to do the Catherine wheel cutting rather than do both ends, or the one end. So there's our base. This is the moment of truth on the cutting down the, let's pop that one that way, on the cutting down your base layer. It's catching on the, it's just catching on the flaps. There we are. But there we are. That's a nice, once I've got it on, it's a nice snug fit without it being too tight or too loose. That's what I'm trying to say. Right, I'm just going to check my, that's still a bit damp, so I'm just going to blast it very quickly and gently with my heat tool, and then leave it a little bit longer while we do the tag. So I will be able to see it dry, which you probably won't, but there we are. Right, okay. Actually, I might as well punch those out now while we've got them out. Let's punch them. So yes, if you need to speed up your ink drying, just get your heat tool and very gently blast them. Right, it's not that simple to see tone on tone stamping on vellum. Just be careful that you get this in. See, it worked perfectly well with the first one. Just be careful that you get it into the punch properly, because these are slightly delicate. Sorry, I'm concentrating on lining it up. Can you hear the brain ticking? Right, now what I did was I curled two sets of petals backwards and one set forward, just to get, and the second one I did backwards I didn't do too much, so can you see that this one is not as bouncy as this one, and it's just so that there's a little bit of dimension on the flower, and then that's the top one. Now I found that trying to use glue dots was fine, except they didn't really like it, so I think it's because we've got suede cardstock, vellum cardstock. Now you need to offset these quite a bit because you want 3 petals showing. So, and I'm not worried that there's going to be glue showing through, because I am going to stick something in the middle. So there we go. So that, I think, makes a really nice, pretty, opulent flower. And bearing in mind that we're looking at such opulent paper, I think that works really well. Now, it's quite useful. I've put something away. This is silly. Why have I put something away? Is that what I want? Yes. I think it's quite useful to back your flower with a piece of the matching cardstock. So if I grab a scrap of the So Saffron, I've got the 1-inch circle punch. You could use, if you've got it still, which I have, but it's no longer available, the 3/4 inch circle punch would probably be as good. I wouldn't go as small as 1/2 inch. And then just dabble some more glue on the back of that, or on the front of that, whichever you want. Turn over. This is only so that I can get it vaguely central, and then pop that down, and then that gives you a more definite, so just adjust that so it's more or less central. That just gives you something easier to adhere to, and you're going to be wrapping things around it. So it's quite important that you do have a reasonably solid base. So we're wrapping things round. The next thing to do is our stamping and punching for our sentiment. I've got the Wishing You a Blissful Future again, and this time I'm going to use Mossy Meadow ink, because I've used Mossy Meadow for my box. Last time I used Blackberry Bliss, because I'd used Blackberry Bliss for my box. So Wishing You a Blissful Future. I love the font, the curly font in this. It's just gorgeous. With the straight font with it, the sans serif font. So we've got a script font and a sans serif font for those people who like to know the different fonts. I think it just looks really pretty. Now I'm going down as far as I possibly can away from the top. It will become evident in a moment why I'm doing that. And this is why. So this is our corner punch. It's the trio detail punch. And this is a hole. And bearing in mind that we no longer have the 1/8 inch circle punch in our catalogue, you can pop your tag in, and if you line it up centrally, you can just check that you've got card showing through the other side. You can punch. Now remember, you go flat with this punch, and there we are, a nice circle oval in the middle. This is Blackberry Bliss twine, which is from the Nature's Twine, which is carried over. It comes in Mint Macaron, Blackberry Bliss, Grapefruit Grove and Crumb Cake. I do not have any Grapefruit Grove left. And I'm going to just cut a piece off, sort of that length, tie a knot. Actually, what I say tie a knot, what I'm doing now, I had a trick for this. Get yourself a tube of liquid adhesive and tie a bow with your twine around your tube of liquid adhesive. I know it sounds like I've gone completely balmy. You're probably right, but I sort of have and I sort of haven't. So make your nice bow, pull it nice and tight, because twine you do need to give quite a tug to. Get your ends equal, slip it off, make a loop with the bit that you've just taken off your glue, slip it through that hole, pull, and there you've got a bow keeping your tag on. And all we're going to do is take our little piece here. Actually, the first thing we're going to do is grab a silver faceted gem. And I used a medium one before, but I'm going to use a large one on this one, I think. Oop, if I can get it off. Of course, what I should be doing is using my take your pick, pop that on, and grab a dimensional, pop it on the back, remove your backing, take your tag, turn it upside down so that everything is upside down, and decide which corner you want it on, and just pop one on t'other. So there you go. Two really pretty Perennial Essence and Floral Essence boxes. I hope you enjoyed that. Aren't they pretty? They are just so lovely. Really useful size. 2 inches by 4 square is a really useful size box. And you can churn these out really forever. Change the dimensions, make them larger or smaller. I had 6-inch square pieces of designer series paper, which is really what drove me to make them this size, because I ended up with almost nothing left. The waste from a piece of 6x6 was basically those pieces. Yep, those pieces there. So not a huge amount of waste, and these could be used on a future project. Those maybe not, this one probably. So thank you very much indeed for watching. If you don't already subscribe, please do click the subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner. There will be shortly a video which will be, I think probably yesterday's video will pop up as a suggested video. There's a link to my website that will pop up on the left. All the information is below, links to my website, my online store, excuse me, list of all the products I've used, and all that good stuff. Thank you very much indeed for watching me again, and I look forward to seeing you hopefully tomorrow. Bye!